Hello and welcome. Today we're working in grade 2 in social studies on the unit 2, Working to Meet Our Needs, lesson 16, Working to Meet Our Needs portfolio. My name is Mrs. C. I'm an ELL teacher at Florida Connections Academy. Today we'll be completing a portfolio assignment that you will turn into your teacher for a grade. Let's look at your lesson to see how you should best begin. Working to meet our needs. In this lesson, you will create a booklet about the goods and services in your community. Read the Working to Meet Our Needs portfolio rubric with your partner. So right here, if you click, you'll be able to see the rubric that will tell you exactly what you need to include in your booklet. We'll go over this rubric together at the end to make sure we include everything. Here are our objectives, or what we want to do. Identify and describe businesses in the community that provide goods and services. Create a booklet that illustrates and describes businesses in the community. Here's a tip. You will have 2 days to complete this lesson, so don't worry about rushing and finishing it all in one day. Working to Meet Our Needs review. To help make your booklet, review what you have learned about goods and services. Reread pages 58 through 61 and pages 64 through 67 of My World Social Studies, We Do Our Part with your partner. What goods and services do you want to write about? Look at the picture on pages 48 and 49 of your textbook for ideas. So here is what that page looks like. You can see there are some key words, some vocabulary on each side: needs, wants, resource, cost, goods, producer, consumer, skill, trade, savings, borrow, loan. There's also a picture here that shows a lot of those jobs and a lot of those goods and services that are offered in communities. I see a hospital, which would offer a lot of services, a school, a police department. Those both offer services as well. I see a supermarket and a bakery and a toy store. All of those community centers, they sell goods. So think about who you would like to include in your booklet using these pages. All right, so this is what you're going to do. Here are your steps. Number 1, create a booklet about goods and services. Write about 3 businesses in your community. Describe the goods or services they provide. Review the rubric just to make sure that you've got everything included. We'll do that at the end. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Obtain the following materials: paper, crayons, and pencil. Or if you have things like markers or paints or different things like that at your house, that's fine too. You just want something to write with and something to draw with. You're going to choose 3 businesses that you want to include in your booklet. You're going to fold your sheets of paper in half. So here is what that looks like. I had 2 whole pieces of paper and I folded them in half. And then I stapled them. You don't have to staple them if you don't have a stapler, but if you do, you can staple them together to make it stay together. All right, let's go back to your lesson real quick. Use crayons and a pencil to create the cover of the booklet. So that's the very front, that's the outside front cover. You may title the booklet whatever you wish, and then you want to write your name as the author. So here's what that looks like on mine. This is my front cover. And I titled my booklet Community Businesses, right? That's what we're writing about, 3 community businesses. And I also included my name, by Mrs. C. I wanted to decorate my front cover because I see that on a lot of books that I read. So I drew some of those different types of careers or those different types of goods and services you might see in a community. I have a police car, right? A book, some fruits, and some supplies that you might see at a barber shop, right? Some hair cutting supplies and hair brushing supplies. So this is my front cover of my booklet. All right, so inside on the separate pages of your booklet, you're going to draw a picture of each business and you're going to write a few sentences about the goods or services that each business provides. Remember to include information about special skills or natural resources the business workers use for their work. So here are the 3 businesses I chose. You do not need to choose the same businesses or the same community centers that I did, but here is an example. The first one I chose was the police station. So I drew a picture of the police station and a police car outside, and then I talked about the service that they provide. Police officers work for the government. They provide services like keeping roads and people safe. So I'll show you where I got this information from. In your social studies book, if you skip ahead past pages 48 and 49, and you may have already read this with your learning coach, there's information about goods. Goods are things people make or grow. And there's also information about services. So right here, services in the community. Many people work to provide or give services. Police officers, school nurses, and librarians are all service workers. So if you go a little further, it even talks about government workers. That's where I got my information about police officers. It says police officers and firefighters are government workers. Communities pay these workers with money from taxes. So there is a lot of great information in your social studies book that you can take, put into your own words, and then write in your own booklet. So that's my first one, police station. You can see I've got 2 sentences, and I do have a lot of those keywords. I've got services in here. I mentioned the government. I mentioned how they do their work. They keep people on roads safe. So we want to make sure that we include some of that information that we've learned from these lessons in our booklet. Okay, here's the next business I chose, a grocery store. I drew a little picture on the inside of some fruits for sale, apples, oranges, lemons, plums. And then again, I wrote 2 sentences in my very best handwriting about what grocery stores do, how they help the community. Grocery stores sell goods to the community. You can buy goods like apples, oranges, lemons, and plums. So those are all natural resources, right? We grow them and then we sell them. The people who buy them, like you and I, if we go to the grocery store, we're the consumers. We're buying them. But the grocery store is the one that's selling those goods to us. So again, I've got the word goods in here, community. I mentioned what types of goods the grocery store has. And again, a lot of that information came right from your social studies book. Let's go back to that page about goods. Here is some information about how we get orange juice, the process that oranges take. And here's where it mentions things that you can buy. Goods are everything from tomatoes to televisions to trucks. And down here, they're at a little market, not a grocery store, but they're at a market where they're buying fruits and vegetables. So in your social studies book, you want to take some of those facts about each type of business and make sure you include them in your booklet. The last one I chose was a school. So I've got a teacher up here. She's talking to the students. They're learning about the alphabet. All of the students are on the carpet. Some of them have balls, some of them have books, some of them have pencils, and it looks like they're answering some questions too. Here's what I wrote about schools. Schools provide services to children. Teachers have skills to help students. So in your social studies book, it talks about those skills. It talks about teachers and how they help students. Oh, I think I skipped the page. Yep, it says we also have service workers in our schools. Principals, nurses, librarians, cafeteria workers, janitors, and teachers work in our schools. These service workers all have skills that help them do their jobs. Some teachers specialize in one subject, like math, science, or reading. Other teachers have to know how to teach music or physical education. So your booklet doesn't have to include everything that you've read and learned, but you do need to include at least a few sentences on each page that include some of those key words just to show what you know and what you've learned. All right, let's go back to your lesson and let's make sure that we've taken care of everything that we need in our booklet. All right, so here's where you will turn it in. Here's the Dropbox. This is where you will upload a picture of each page of your booklet for your teacher to see. But before we move on to that, I want to make sure we look at the rubric and make sure that we've checked all the boxes in this excellent column so you can get the best grade. For your booklet, it says it should include a cover page. We had that. Illustrations, those are drawings, and information about 3 businesses in the community. So we definitely included everything we needed for the best score for our booklet. For text, it says the text of the booklet, that's what you have written down, describes the goods or services each business provides, as well as the natural resources or special skills used to complete the work. So we talked about the natural resources when we talked about the fruits in the grocery store. We talked about the services that police officers do, keeping the roads and people safe. And we talked about the skills that teachers have to help children learn. So we've got everything that we need there as well. Facts. All facts about the businesses are accurate. That just means correct. So if you're not sure, remember you're getting those facts and details from your social studies book. If you want to write about a business that's not included in your social studies book, that's okay. But you're definitely going to want to double check that any information you write down and you include is true and real information. Vocabulary, a variety of academic and domain specific words are used. That just means are you using some of those terms from your lesson? So remember, we could see those on page 48 and we could also see them when we were reading. So on here, we've got the word community, we've got the word businesses, we've got the word government, we've got the word services, provide, sell, goods, skills. We have so many of those words in the booklet, so it's perfectly good and perfectly fine for the excellent score there as well. And then the last part is just your punctuation, your capitalization, and your spelling are correct. So definitely double check that with your learning coach. Make sure that every one of your sentences begins with an uppercase letter and then it ends with a punctuation mark. That could be a period, or if you're really excited, it could be an exclamation mark, or if you're asking a question, it could be a question mark. But make sure you have the ending punctuation at the end of each of your sentences. For your spelling, do your very best and then have your learning coach look over your booklet with you just to make any corrections that might need to be made. Some of those words are a little bit longer and a little bit trickier. But remember, you can look in your social studies book to help you spell them as well. All right, so I'm looking at this rubric. I think everything is awesome. You are ready to turn in your booklet to your teacher. Remember, you don't have to finish this all in one day. You can do half, maybe your front cover and your first business on day one, and then your next two businesses on day two. Make sure you review that rubric and make sure you've got everything that you need before you submit it to your teacher. I know if you do that, you are going to do an amazing job and get an awesome grade. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.